When I think back on my 30s, I almost can't believe how much I've changed. It feels like I was someone else then, someone who was so unsure of herself, so desperate to fit in, so overwhelmed by the constant noise of expectations. I was always comparing myself to others, wondering why my life didn't look the way I thought it should by that age. I remember feeling like there was a clock ticking somewhere in the background, telling me that I needed to be doing more, achieving more, fitting into some version of adulthood that I couldn't seem to keep up with. You know, the kind of life where everything falls neatly into place. Career, marriage, children, stability. It all seemed so simple for others, but for me it was like trying to find my way through a fog. I spent so much of my 30s trying to force myself into a mold that didn't suit me, trying to live up to these societal standards of what a woman my age should be doing. I felt like a failure because I didn't get married in my 20s. I wasn't sure if I even wanted kids. I had periods where I was unsure of what direction my career should take, and I was constantly battling that sense of not measuring up. It was a time of deep internal struggle, though I didn't always know how to express it at the time. I just felt out of sync. But now, from this vantage point, I see those years for what they were, an incredible period of transformation. A time when I was shedding old versions of myself, letting go of the stories I'd been told about what a woman's life should look like. And honestly, I feel a deep sense of admiration for that woman I was, for how resilient she was, even when she didn't realize it. Even when she felt like she was barely holding it all together. I admire the strength it took to keep moving forward, even when I wasn't sure where I was going. There were days, weeks, maybe even months when I questioned every decision I had made. Was I making the right choices? Was I too late to be figuring things out? Was there something wrong with me because I wasn't following the same path everyone else seemed to be on? Society's pressure to conform, to look like everyone else, was overwhelming at times. I remember thinking that I had to fix myself, whether it was my body, my career, or my personal life, because I didn't fit the mold of what a woman was supposed to be. What I didn't know then, but what I know now, is that there was nothing to fix. There was nothing wrong with me. I was simply on my own path, creating a life that was unique to me, and that took time, patience, and a whole lot of self-compassion. I had so many moments where I felt utterly lost, like I was falling behind, or that I wasn't doing things the right way. And I hated that feeling. I hated feeling like I was always playing catch-up, like I was somehow late to the game. But I realize now that I wasn't behind. I was exactly where I needed to be. If only I could go back in time and tell that woman in her 30s what I know now, I would tell her to stop apologizing for who she was. I would tell her to stop trying to fit herself into someone else's box. I would tell her to trust herself more, to stop questioning every choice, to stop worrying so much about what others might think. I wish I could have given myself the gift of patience back then, the patience to let life unfold as it would, without feeling like I had to control every single outcome. The thing is, I had no idea how much growth was happening in those moments of uncertainty. Those quiet, frustrating, sometimes painful years were actually the building blocks of the woman I've become. Looking back, I see that my 30s were full of moments that at the time seemed like failures, but in hindsight, I realized they were essential lessons. The relationships that didn't work out, the jobs I walked away from, the decisions I regretted, they all taught me something. They taught me about my boundaries, my desires, my capacity to love and forgive myself. The years I spent second-guessing everything were also the years I was learning to listen to my own voice, to trust my gut, to believe that I knew what was best for me. I spent so much time in my 30s feeling like I was doing it all wrong, wondering why I couldn't follow the script that seemed to work so well for everyone else. But now I see that I was just creating my own script. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just taking the long way around, figuring it out as I went along. It wasn't always easy, but it was my journey, and looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. I've learned to embrace the uncertainty. The thing that used to terrify me, the idea that I didn't have all the answers, now feels like a gift. Life isn't about having everything figured out by a certain age. It's about being open to the process of becoming. The journey is just as important as the destination. And the truth is, there are no shoulds when it comes to how your life is supposed to unfold. I no longer feel pressured to meet anyone else's expectations. I don't feel the need to justify my choices. I've learned that I am enough just as I am. I wish I had been more confident in my decisions. I wish I could have let go of the fear that I was making the wrong choices or that I wasn't living up to some standard. I wish I had trusted that it was okay to go at my own pace. But part of me knows that I couldn't have learned those lessons any other way. The doubts, the mistakes, the moments of fear, they were all part of my evolution. They shaped me into the woman who can now look back and feel proud of what she's achieved. And I am proud. Proud of the quiet strength I had to summon when I thought I had none left. Proud of how far I've come, even when I didn't know where I was headed. If I could talk to that version of myself from my 30s, I'd remind her to be kinder to herself, to stop believing that there's some perfect timeline she's supposed to follow. I'd tell her that she's doing better than she thinks. She's growing, even when it doesn't feel like it. And she's going to be okay. In my 30s, I didn't always have the answers. I didn't always know who I was or where I was headed. But now, in my 40s, I know that I was never supposed to have it all figured out. The uncertainty, the struggle, the self-doubt, all of that was just part of the process. It was all leading me to where I am today, a woman who has learned to trust herself, to embrace her imperfections, to let go of the need for external validation. And if there's one thing I've learned for sure, it's this. There is no one right way to live a life. There's only your way. And it's enough. It's always been enough.